Good afternoon. You know, I just won't let us get away from this subject of love. The Bible says that I said, "As I have loved you, love one another." And of course, one of the commandments says, "Do not bear false witness." Rather than approach this from the negative, "thou shalt not," I want you to think about loving one another as witnessing for one another. Standing with another on his or her behalf. That means that when your brother has chosen not to bear witness to his divinity, but rather to the worst in himself, you don't agree with him. You don't look at him and say, "What a bastard he's being." That's not witnessing for him. That's not being the presence that can transform and heal your brother or sister. Or let us say you run into someone at work. You haven't seen them for a couple of days and they really look awful. They look like they need to be home in bed. Puffy eyes, red eyes, groggy, obviously not in the best health. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell the first person you meet how lousy so-and-so looks today? Boy, she must really be feeling terrible. Well, what are you witnessing for here? Are you witnessing for less than that one's divinity? What are you standing with that person for? If you pass the news around as to how sick this person looks, you not only are not being the presence that could heal instantaneously, you're reinforcing the general attitude about that person, so that now everyone in the office is witnessing against that person's health, against that person's inner experience of her divinity. Everyone's witnessing for or against another. Is a teaching. Do you want to teach your friend that indeed she looks terrible and ought to be in bed and is ill and has no choice about it? Or do you want to have gone within and remembered that the reason she's in your experience is to have her divinity recognized, and as a result of recognizing it within yourself, having behaved in a manner that inspired her to realize she has a different choice, she has a different experience available to her, one of health? When you witness for somebody, you end up convicting that person. And you can either convict that person for their lack, or for their problem, or for their bitchy attitude, or for their illness, or you can convict them for their health, their wholeness, their divinity, because at least you didn't forget who she really was, the direct expression of God, in whom God is well pleased, and from whom God has withheld nothing of what He is perfectly being right there where she is. You have the option, and you enact the option by how you choose to witness for that other one. How you choose to stand with that other one. And you do it all day long. You always stand with another on behalf of what they truly are, or on behalf of what they think they are. And at the moment, I'm not going to go into the fact that sometimes you witness for what you think they are, whether they think they are or not. And that's another matter. As I have loved you, love one another. It's the extension of love that changes or will change the world. And the way you witness for or against another determines how blessed the world is and how much the world can bless you. Now, I'm bringing this up for a reason, not just because of the truth of what I've already told you, and that it doesn't hurt for you to be reminded of it, but because there is a tendency among those who are metaphysically oriented to become very heady and intellectual in their approach to life. And as a result, they become inhumane because they forget that they need to witness for their brother or sister. And they need to witness for their brother or sister, especially when their brother or sister is suffering from something, and therefore isn't the most pleasant person to be around, whether the unpleasantness is that the person is crotchety or angry and not expressing pleasant thoughts, or whether it's someone who isn't feeling well and therefore isn't the best company because there isn't the energy there and the person is feeling lousy. You know what? When your brother is down is when your brother needs a witness. When your brother is not in the best place, that's when your brother needs a witness. Somebody standing with him or with her through the thick of it and making commitment to stand with that one until they come through on the other side of whatever the problem is. You all need each other to witness for each other with commitment. That's how you love one another. That's how you love one another. You witness for each other. And you choose wisely as to what you are going to witness to about your brother, so that you don't end up witnessing to the worst in them, whether it's the worst in them that you are thinking about them, or whether it's the worst in them that they are thinking about themselves. This takes application. This takes effort. This takes work. This requires commitment. But you know what? Each of you is worth it. What do I do all the time? I witness for you on your behalf by not bringing up all your faults and your flaws and condemning you for them, but by reminding you of who you are and not agreeing with you when you express unclear concepts about who you are. And I don't agree with you when you believe those unclear concepts, but I also don't say to you, that's a flaw you have. I say, it's a misunderstanding you have that you can become clear of if you will remember who you divinely are. And I talk and talk and talk about what you divinely are and what your relationship is with your Father, who is the source of your being, right here and right now. And I say, in spite of the fact that you see yourselves as physical organisms, you are not. You are divine beings right here and right now, and this physical body you think you have is nothing more than pure divine energy, which has the intent to identify what God is being right there perfectly, and that therefore it's your ally, and that it is something that will always identify you eternally, because just as God unidentified is non-existent God, you unidentified are non-existent you. And since you're the expression of God and are therefore as eternal as God, then what you see sitting here and what you feel sitting here in these chairs is eternal also. And if it seems to you to be capable of becoming sick and dying, I'm telling you, it's not a divine fact, it's an illusion that each of you has the option to let yourself have the experience of. And so I'm constantly witnessing to you on your behalf, so that you don't get bogged down, or you don't remain bogged down in unclear concepts about who you are and what this is. And when you don't get it, I tell you again. I don't get frustrated with you. You don't need someone being frustrated with you when you're not getting it. You need someone who talks to you in a way that makes you feel like, yeah, I didn't get it, but no big deal, and therefore I can persist in trying to get it. And I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to waste my time being distracted from getting it by proving to you or somebody else that I am not as bad as you think I am. Now, the way I am treating you is the way you need to treat others. Do you feel inspired by the way I treat you? I see you keep coming back, so obviously I'm not pushing you away. Now, most of you, when you're here, are on your good behavior. But I know you when you're not here, and your bad behavior doesn't distract me or deter me or frustrate me or keep me from saying, hey, tain't so. You don't need to behave the way you're behaving. And here's why. Here's the good news. And you know what? your brothers and sisters and the people you work with, they need to hear the good news too. Not Bible-thumping good news, but someone who stands there with them on their behalf, with unending encouragement no matter how discouraged they get, with unending encouragement no matter how nasty they get because they believe their discouragement, and someone who, by their lack of criticism, conveys that the other one doesn't need to be self-critical, and conveys that here's a safe place to be. And that therefore less defense is needed. And in the absence of defense, there's a greater willingness to see things a different way. Love one another. Bear witness to the truth of them. With persistence. All of you at one time or another in your life have been in a place where you could not conceive that you had a capacity to be something more than you were at that moment. And somebody else, you would say, had faith in you. Well, what did that mean? It means they bore witness to what they knew was true about you that went beyond your concept of what you were capable of. And by virtue of your witnessing to that, it inspired them. You were inspired to take a step you didn't think you could take. And you discovered that you could take it. Because, as you say, they had faith in you. Well, they loved you enough to bear witness to the truth of you. And that is always healing. And some of you have had the experience of being unwilling to embrace the possibility, to embrace a possibility, we'll say. And you were unwilling for 5 years to embrace the possibility. And someone else stood there with you for 5 years in your declaration of your incapacity and said, "It ain't so. Yes, you can. I can see that you've got it in you." And they persevered, day in and day out, year in and year out, for 5 years. Until finally, at some point, their conviction about you was able to be received by you and become your conviction about you. Love one another that way. And remember that the place where this kind of love is really needed is when your egos say it's the least deserved. It's when your friend or your neighbor or your boss or your children are persisting in presenting their worst perceptions of themselves. And just as when you do the very same thing, you deserve to have someone say there's a way out of your terrible sense of yourself, you need to be the ones that do it for others. And you know what? It may be wonderful to talk about spiritual concepts and how things work spiritually, and how different schools of spiritual thought treat things and which ones are right and which ones are wrong. But none of that means a hill of beans, because until it comes down to the place where you are relating to your brother and sister, here and now, in the ugliness and beauty of unclear thinking that goes on, and you persist in witnessing for that which is true about your brother and sister, until you do that, all this spiritual talk is tinkling brass, and there's nothing to bring it to life, here and now. Every single one of you is worth having someone stand and persistently, consistently witness for the very best in you, because the very best in you is the only thing that's really here, and all the worst of yourself that you think exists here is nothing but your imagination and isn't real. But as long as you are convicted by it, as long as you are convicting yourself to those poor concepts, you will suffer, and it's needless. But you need someone to tell you it's needless, so you can realize, oh, there is a different way to see this. And I know I'm repeating myself, but you don't get it, and so it needs to be repeated, and I gladly repeat it. And you need to be willing to gladly repeat it to each other. You need to be willing to gladly repeat it to each other. And you know what? You can stand on the behalf of your brother and sister without ever using one spiritual word. And until you get that, you're going to get hung up on your spiritual words, and you will lose the meaning. Hugs. Give hugs. A hand on a shoulder. A willingness to stand unmoving by the water cooler or by the copy machine in the office while someone is going through their shit. And being there for them, wordlessly, just being an ear that is willing to listen. What does that say? Without saying a word, without any metaphysical mumbo-jumbo, what does that mean? Well, first of all, it means that they, going through their shit, embarrassingly at work, isn't scaring you off. It means, what are you teaching? You're saying, you're not scary when you're in this position. You're not scaring me. It's okay. It's also teaching them, you're not alone. You don't have to be in this all by yourself here at work. It means we don't have to talk about anything. You can just be feeling what you're feeling with me. This is where the transformation occurs. This is where love is extended and experienced. This is where, by virtue of your willingness to witness for your brother and sister, demonstrates in the world that they're not alone, that they're worthy, that they don't have to be afraid to be in the spot they're in, that someone cares. And all of this without a word being spoken. All of these words in the Course, in the Bible, all of these words mean nothing if they aren't going to be translated into the human experience. And you know something else? any teaching that says the world doesn't exist, or this is all an illusion, if the meaning of those words isn't carefully and wisely sought out, you will discount the very arena in which love can be extended, the very place where all of this spiritual talk has relevance. Because if it's all illusion, you won't stand there at the water cooler saying nothing. You'll say, and you'll go back to your desk. And you won't bother to witness for each other. You'll have some quick spiritual platitude. Oh, that's an illusion. And you'll satisfy yourself that there's no requirement for you to do anything more, because in your realization that it's all an illusion, that should heal. And you go back to your desk, feeling pretty good with yourself, if you're that insane. And the opportunity is missed, not only to be transformational for your brother, but you miss the opportunity to find your capacity for persistence, your capacity for walking the extra mile, the extra 100 miles, your capacity to make such commitment to your brother or sister that you never, ever have to abandon them again. Forever. Oh, now we're talking about transformation, aren't we, of you? But hey, this is where the glory is. And I don't mean the glory of God. I mean, here's where the gloriousness of existing awaits your experience. Most often, metaphysical, spiritual truths are used as a means to disengage you from involvement with each other. And this is a serious mistake. I didn't say, love your metaphysical spiritual truths. I said, love your brother. As I have loved you, love your brother. Don't love the truth more than your brother. Because the truth doesn't mean shit if it has no relevance to your brother, and if it has no relevance to you. And if truth is imagined to be different from your brother and sister, it becomes a harsh taskmaster that will grind your very sense of your own humanity down until it crumbles and you become a hard-hearted teacher of irrelevance. And I have chosen my words well, so that you might understand exactly what I mean, and so that you might grasp the fact that truth is not meant to be that which separates you from your brothers and sisters, but rather it is not platitudes or words, but that which is revealed to you. Truth is revealed to you